think you were in Toronto. We went out to eat somewhere in the West End, and we had a conversation. And you shared something with me.
Oh shit! Yeah, I remember this.
What can you tell me a bit about that conversation?
So this was breakfast, right? I think.
I believe it was brunch. Yeah.
I mean, I basically came out to you, which
Okay.
which is always a weird thing. But yeah, that was it. I was like, Timmy, I have to tell you something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. I had to do that conversation like a few times.
In your head, right?
Yeah.
Was that a theme around that time of?
It was a theme. Yeah, it was my coming out year for my friends.
Yes.
Right. For the audience, probably this is the coming out year. But like,
yeah.
It was an important thing. I think. I feel like, especially being an artist, and especially the type of things I want to talk about, it's necessary. Like you can't run away from it at some point. So, but I think there was a lot of like, being Nigerian. It's a very being Nigerian is one thing, but like being Nigerian that grew up in Nigeria is a different thing. So it's been a learning process. I think. I feel like now it's sort of in retrospect because this happened like a few years ago, and my friends and family already have like, I'm lucky enough to have that. But I remember that year. I remember dreading that conversation, and then eventually happened. But it was the coolest thing.
Yeah, this is your first time talking about it publicly.
On any platform.
So I want to say thank you for that, and thank you for the bravery, I guess, shown to talk about it here. How long have you known, sort of subconsciously and consciously?
Right.
And what was that like mental journey of just like realization?
All right, maybe subconsciously, I've known for a long time. Like I've always known, type of thing. It wasn't something that just happened. Like Nigerian parents, or let me just say Nigerian parents, because or Nigerians in general would have you believe like, oh, this is something you learned from the West or some stuff. Nah. Like before I came here, I've always known. But you're aware of the atmosphere. You're aware of the laws, like the very real laws that would rather have you imprisoned or dead.
For those that don't know, in Nigeria, where we're from, being homosexual is illegal.
Yeah.
And it carries a 14-year jail sentence.
Right. 14 years of your precious life.
14 years.
Kissing boy, can you imagine?
And there's some, nuances to that law, but I think you sort of get the idea of why it's dangerous to come out where you're from, which in itself is something crazy, right? So just navigating that, how tough was it sort of keeping it to yourself? And like, was that mentally tough? Like, did you almost implode, or was it just like you're living life, this, but it's not hard for you to sort of like keep this to yourself?
Right. I like that you used implode, because that's honestly what it feels like at some point. Like I said, like school was a big distraction, right? But you finish school and then you're stuck with yourself, right? There was no excuse of, I'm trying to study. This is it. And then you're stuck with your family for pandemic, like 2 years and everything. And it's not like, also the implosion is sort of a mental thing, right? It's not a physical present, but it's something you've built up in your mind. And then what happens is you realize that it's a lie in a sense, right? Because I remember when I told my mom, I was dreading that conversation because I tried the night before, and then
that's one of the,
I chickened out of it.
That's one of my questions that I'm looking forward to most. But I guess we can get to that now. What was it like telling your African mom, or coming out to your African mom, that you actually was living with you at the time?
Yeah. I mean, shout out to Momsi. She's cool.
Yeah.
Shout
out to Momsi.
She's cool. So I think that really helped, because she's always been cool, right? But still, it's still a difficult conversation to have, no matter how cool your Momsi is, right? It's like, okay, because especially like we never like to disappoint our parents. Right?
Yes.
There's always this fear of like, oh, the world is gonna crash, or the world is gonna end, or something like that. But you realize when you actually take those steps that it's actually not that deep. At least for me, I think there's people who, I can't really say that that's the case for everybody, but I was fortunate enough to be in the case where, like, when I did tell my mom, it wasn't an implosion, right? If anything, it was just like confusion and fear for her part. And then she went to tell my brothers and my sister,
as
because she didn't know.
Do.
Yeah, as parents do, snitches. But it wasn't an implosion. And I think that was the first thing I appreciated, because I had spent like a lot of time dreading the implosion. And then the finale came, and it wasn't an implosion. It was more so like a soft, like, oh, okay. Questions, as questions go.
Yeah.
It was very
were
different.
there any wild questions your mom
There weren't any wild questions. There were questions of like, oh, is it me or is it? How Nigerian parents have to like.
Yeah, she
blame
basically
themselves
she
or
internalized
whatever.
it, right?
Yeah.
So she thought something she had done had
I'd caused it.
yeah.
I mean, that was the best reaction I could have hoped for. Like, confusion, which is like normal, right? You're not used to it. It's like expect that you don't know what to do at that moment.
Yeah.
But it wasn't anger or backlash or like it wasn't hate. So that was really important. Our relationship is great, right? Our relationship is even more, even got better. Like we're sort of like friends more than like mother. We're more than son, but like we're sort of friends. And my sister too, my brothers, we're all cool. It was, I don't know, the implosion. That's why I focus on the implosion word, because that's really what you imagine it's gonna be like. You imagine it's gonna be like an explosion. You imagine it's gonna be like, but if you're lucky, it's not.
Did that reiterate your faith in your family? I'm sort of like glad I'm in this family sort of thing. Or was that not the case?
Right. I don't think I thought of it like that too much. I think for me, it was mostly about what was the next step for me, right? Because I feel like, I had this sense of time skipping or time just passing. I don't know if you remember this question. We had a conversation one time and I'm like, can you see 5 years into the future? Like, or do you know what that looks like? I think I remember right? That, yeah. And for me, it was black. Like, I couldn't see anything just because I hadn't allowed myself to like create something there. So this was more so an effort for me to like have the power to create.
To shed light
right, exactly,
on your path.
Exactly. To see what, because it's something like I felt like I have to eventually do. I'm a terribly honest person. I don't have to lie. Yeah. So like I eventually like I had to do it. So it was more so like, okay, it was the best reaction I could have hoped from my family. Again, being Nigerian, but it was, it definitely like, oh.
I want to like sort of get the correct facts, if that makes sense. Of so I don't know if you want to dive more into like the nuance of it, because when you say coming out, people have like one thought about it. Or is there like nuance to like your coming out?
What do you mean?
So in terms of you, I think you mentioned that you're not just, you don't lean one way, right? Like there's a sort of like nuance to it. There's like
labels. That's what we're talking about. Yes. I mean, I'm not a big fan of labels.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
I don't know. It's weird.
It's like, so would you label it as fluid? Like what was your?
Not fluid. I would say maybe more gay.
Okay.
Right. If we're doing labels.
Okay.
But I feel like it's weird because there's so many different ways you can have a relationship.
Yes, yeah.
So, but if we're talking about like sexual orientation, yeah, that's what I would say.
Okay. And what has it been like trying to navigate this space, especially at an older age, or like coming out at an older age, rather than like people...
shit, Jesus, you make me feel old. I'm fucking
not like a walking stick. No. Like a lot of people, like especially in this part of the world, 14, 30, like these ages are like,
because you're in a different community.
Exactly, and it's like from then, right?
Yeah.
But for you had to keep this for a while. You had to go through the process of telling your loved ones and close friends.
Yeah.
And then now you have to like go into the world.
Right.
So what was that like?
I think I'm still in the thick of it, actually. Right. I'm 27. It's been a few years, right? So I mean, for the general public meaning anyone who's not really close to me, but like it's been a few years. I'm just like navigating life as it comes. Art helping me on that journey. So it's not something that I really can speak definitely about because still figuring shit out.
Yeah,
like everybody else. But it's easier because now you don't have to worry about like a certain awkwardness or dishonesty. It's more okay. What we gonna do now? Like so, like that. Talking about that 5 years now, there's a bit more like yeah. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, there's still things like having to do with like extended family and stuff like that, but like that's their problem, not mine.
Extended family. Oh my god, the best. Have you had any negative experiences so far, Or it's been
Not that I know of, to be
Okay.
honest, man.
I like that you said not that you know of.
Yeah,
because
I mean, there's
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
probably something, but like I don't. I'm also very introverted, so like I don't have a lot of. I guess there hasn't been a lot of opportunity for
negative
that to
experiences.
happen.
That makes sense. What of positive experiences?
Yeah, a lot of positive, like positive experience.
Thank you.
All my friends
Thank
are
you.
cool.
Yeah.
Love them.